Good evening. How are you? We're doing a stand-in talk today because the weather wasn't so great, and I spent the day driving to and coming back from Charlottesville on a case that I'm handling. The discussion that comes to mind is how out of control the Republicans are, how righteous they seem to be, and to declare anyone else but themselves are responsible for the state of the nation and the chaos that is a daily trap for those of us who believe this nation can be a joyful place, a place of accomplishment, a place in which people join together and make a difference. But those of us who believe in equal justice before the law, who don't believe in discrimination, who believe in due process, which means fundamental fairness, appear to be stalwarts in that view. But on the other side of the ledger, there are all these people who think it's soft to actually do things right, to take the time to get it right, to treat each other as equals in terms of individual rights and liberties, a right to speak, a right to marry, a right to travel, and who believe that if there are people here illegally, then let's follow the law. If you can associate money for different projects and Congress has passed a law, follow the law. Do not lie to us about provisions that don't really support what you want to do and claim we're at war with Venezuela and gang leaders. Don't cast aspersions on those who stand in your way, Mr. Trump, who disagree with you, and then defame them and try to run them down and coerce and try to push them out of the positions they're in, or try to get them to talk otherwise. In my lifetime, we've had instances in which there have been people in government who just thought they were more important. Masters of the universe, always right, and everybody else is wrong. And yet, today we have some members of the Republican Party saying that we have to understand each other and cooperate. And while that's being said, the rump of the Republicans are saying exactly the opposite, and they want to double down and hurt and blame people for things they couldn't have anything to do with. I mean, for example, what other person beside the shooter had anything to do with the Kirk shooting? Who? Any person at all can we identify? Any person that we can identify and connect to a political party or a movement or a group? No, there isn't any. And yet there are politicians out there who are prepared to do all sorts of foul things to any individual who has a certain view, and they extrapolate. They make a huge jump and say that person is thinks, because they think Kirk is wrong in his positions, then that means they celebrate a death. I don't celebrate a death. I don't know anybody who does. And of the landscape of politicians that I see, the ones who seem to respect the individual, no matter what their color or their religion or their place of origin, or whether they should be here legally, we look for ways to respect the rights that they have if we're going to deal with each of those circumstances. Liberal means freedom. What does conservative mean? Hold back, go back to the early days when white was supreme and anybody else was suspect. Go back to the days when women couldn't have a right to work and independence, to choose what to do with their body. They didn't have these rights. They didn't have the right to vote. They didn't get the right to vote until after the Civil War resulted in blacks in America getting the right to vote. The history of America is rich with conflict and some very dramatic agreements that made a big difference to make us equal before the law. That's one version of who we are. Another version is that we should trust one man, one dirty old man who doesn't give a damn about anybody, including his most loyal subjects, if you will, and they are subjects. They jump whenever he tells them to jump. Um, Between these two visions of America, there really is no struggle. The vision of America in which we have and enjoy individual rights and liberties, a right to vote, and a republic in which people are elected in fair elections, not ones in which you carve up an entire state and decide politically to get a false result. That is what dictators do. People should go to Russia if they want that kind of a law. They want that kind of a government. But we don't want that. And we're going to turn the corner, and instead of it being the people that we support in their struggle for equal rights and liberties, even as just the color of their skin is enough to get them beaten on the streets by people wearing masks, they're going to start on people who are white. They are going to subjugate anybody they can. So if one sits on one's hands, one's going to wake up someday and find, just like they did in Germany in anticipating World War II and then World War II, finally they come for you. And it may not be direct. One may not be put in a camp or something, but the work that you enjoy doing, they'll stop it. Maybe they'll have you wear insignias. Who knows? These people have borrowed a playbook because they do not trust the individual. And why should they? They don't trust anybody. They don't trust themselves. They're all schemers. And when I was young and watched some party, old House Democrats, it was interesting how they got such joy that somebody got screwed or not. And one evening, going to one of these meetings, it turned out that a couple of these people that were so happy when other people were getting it were getting their own and being tossed out of the positions they held as a result of their loyalty to the party. So Reform Democrats are people that believe what I think I've stated I believe, and that I think most of you believe. Why would you believe anything else except to want liberty and freedom and be treated fairly? And Trump, that's not his message. His message is, I am perfect, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it. Which raises two large questions, because these are so destructive, each of the things he's doing. You know, whether you take the tariffs or police forces violating the Constitution and statutes in cities across America, chosen because they're perceived as more Democrat than Republican. This is not acceptable as a civilized government. And so within the country, we have great suppression. You know, if you know something about a case, say Ms. Comey from New York, who worked on the Epstein case, we don't want her around. We don't want anybody who knows the truth, because otherwise we can't manage it and fool with it and change it and hold back the information and so forth. Someday she'll testify and we'll know about it. And she's suing the government for firing her for no good reason and for denying her due process, guaranteed her by the civil service laws. So America is also without allies increasingly. We abuse them. We don't support them. How is that possible? And we do this at a time when there is a coalition formed in Asia that involves, well, going from Russia to China to North Korea and other countries. And we may lose the support of South Korea and Japan, who are critical to our security in that region. So we're messing up our government, we're messing up our economy, we're messing up our people, we're straight arming those who were our allies since World War II, we're giving up our position at the table to make a difference for the better. And some have wondered, is it possible that this is Trump's mission, to destroy America, and that this is the last request of no less than Putin, that his KGB adjunct should do for Putin what is his grand scheme to restore the Soviet Russian model. Drones over countries, not helpful. False stories about why you're doing it. I understand there have been drones that have gone across other spaces. NATO is talking about dealing with this. Europe is concerned about what's happening in America and expressing itself around the world in opposition to the positions we're taking. There is a price to pay if we do not have alliances in a shrinking world that on a daily basis feels more and more like conflict is the story of the day than comity, C-O-M-I-T-Y, getting along, working together. So when people tell us to be quiet about the things that matter, they want to shrink what may be considered by the brain. Well, we're not that mechanical, but it has some good effect if you're the person who seeks to have a monarchy instead of a democracy. That's why open information so that we can make our own decision is important, but increasingly we can't rely on the government for those sources, even for vaccinations and so forth. Luckily, we have a lot of people who know the medicine. So how would I sum up my tour down to Charlottesville and back? Well, I think of Jefferson. I've been to Monticello, his home, a number of times. I find it fascinating. I've read a great deal about him. His notion of our government was that from time to time we're going to mess up and we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and figure out how to make it work. Unfortunately, the Republicans figure they have a winning hand and they can crush anybody who disagrees with them. I disagree with their premise. I disagree that that could be a government that is American. I insist that what we have to do day by day is to follow that light that allows us to know what individual things we can do in a day, a week, a month, whatever it takes to stop this movement to destroy America, intentionally or not, in service to a foreign power or not, but certainly in violation of our Constitution and our statutes and our law and our historical decorum, in which America is a place that welcomes everyone. And that's not the rule of law in America right now. So we're in a fight. Resistance is right. And be very careful these days because these guys are running around slamming people. And it's never one-on-one. It's always several. And they wear masks as criminals always do. And we haven't had those evenings that marked the changes in Germany, but we're coming close. They're getting worse all the time. So that's what happens when I'm cabined off in a car for most of the day. So hopefully I'll see you out walking tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.